Hey everybody, this is Aaron at Black Swamp Outdoors, and today we're going to dive into the Gordon 12-piece Emergency Survival Kit, and this is from Harbor Freight. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so today, like I said, I have the Harbor Freight Emergency 12-piece Survival Kit. So this kind of goes back to our roots of why we started this channel back years ago, before it even started to begin to gain any traction that it has now. We were big into emergency, like survival preparedness. For those of you that know, our channel name used to be Black Swamp Preppers. We were big into all of that stuff, bushcraft, survival. We were testing products, going out, camping and seeing what we could really get stuff to do. I thought this would be a fun little thing to check out now and kind of see where this stacks up. If it is worth the money, what you actually get in here, and, see if we can make it work. So the price at Harbor Freight for the Gordon Survival Kit comes in at $29.99 regular price. This past week, for Inside Track Club members, if you are part of that membership program, they have this down to $19.99. I had a further coupon that takes this entire set down to $16 after tax, which is pretty cool. Throw this in a car or something. I thought it would be really neat to make a video on it, and maybe people might be interested in seeing if it's actually worth the $30 base price, or a cheaper price even at that. So we've got the Gordon 12-piece survival kit opened up here, got it out of the blister pack. A disclaimer right off the rip: I did not get this to make fun of this kit. I did not buy this to make fun of Harbor Freight. I did not buy this for any particular reason other than I thought it would be a fun video to show you guys a little, fairly inexpensive survival kit to see if it was worth any money at all. Right off the rip, I have lots of Harbor Freight tools. I have the Inside Track Club membership thing. I work on a lot of vehicles on the side. I do a lot of maintenance and mechanic works, small engines, lawnmower repair, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, motorcycles, whatever you want to call that. I have a lot of Harbor Freight tools. I have a Harbor Freight toolbox. I did not in any fashion purchase this to bash Harbor Freight or to bash anybody, not Gordon, not anybody in general. So my reviews here are holistic. They are truthful about this kit in itself, not a reflection of anything else. So let's jump right into it. In the front of the packaging, you see the flashlight, the multi-use spork, and the pocket knife first. So let's start with the flashlight. I'm a big flashlight guy. I don't know, I love flashlights. I buy them all the time. I collect them, I'd hate to say. I'm as bad with flashlights. Well, I'm not as bad. I'm almost as bad with flashlights as I am with pocket knives, but I'm not there yet. Anyway, decent little flashlight here. It is a little big. It's a little bulky. So, I'll show you this is my everyday carry Streamlight Micro Stream. I carry this every single day, no matter what I'm doing, where I'm at. You can see I have put this through the ringer. This is actually my second one. I thought I lost my first one, halfway broke it, so I bought this to replace it. That is my EDC flashlight. If you want to compare the two, length is pretty similar. However, girth is quite a bit different. Definitely not something I'd want to have in my pocket, but that's why it comes with the case. One's on one AA battery. This battery was in it. However, it was pretty much dead out of the box. So I replaced it with a brand new battery. And that is what we have. We have a bright mode, we have a dim, a strobe, and a bright. So it's a 3-setting light. Bright, dim, strobe. Also, the collet is movable. It's a focusable beam, so you can bring it down to a focus or kind of flood it out. Now on to the multi-use spork. It is pretty good length, good for MRE pouches. I will say that some survival sporks are too short for MRE pouches, so you end up having to stick your whole hand in your MRE or cut in the bag. This is pretty decent size. The K-bar multi-use spork is probably my favorite. It's my go-to for hunting and camping for use with MREs and dehydrated meals, but this would do pretty well. Metal construction here, what it's made out of, we'll find out. So the handle pulls off and you get a whistle type thing. However, not sure if you can hear that, but that's the extent of what the whistle does. Onto the spork itself. The spork is a spork. Never really reviewed a spork. We've got these holes here that it labels them in the instructions as rope holes for lashing this to a stick. You can make a spear if you lash these around a stick. We've got some very suspect jimping on the top here. I'm guessing if you've got a real tough, cut a squirrel that you really got to get into, you can, you can hack it up with that. A bottle opener, a laughably dull blade here. I did notice that the so-called rope holes are hexagonal in shape. They don't necessarily line up to any real standard sizes. The closest sizes I could find, metric or standard, is 7 millimeter for the big one. That fits 7 millimeter, and 6 millimeter for the small one. I was kind of at least hoping that it would be 6 and 8 millimeter or 5/16 and quarter, for using on hose clamps or something like that, but that's not the. Now on to the pocket knife here, or the survival knife as they call it. So it's a liner lock style, very Frost cutlery-esque. I did not sharpen this. I haven't touched it. I just took it out of the package. Like I say, very Frost cutlery-esque. It's got a little assist opening here. Looks like you're going to need a little flick on that. Not quite full assist, but it does open fairly smooth. Skeletonized belt clip. Let's go initial. It is not sharp at all. Let's do a fingernail test. So, not very sharp. It does have kind of an edge, but it's not super sharp overall. It's kind of a slick handle, actually, for having as many machining cuts and scales as what they've put into it. It's kind of slick. On the back of the knife, we have a seatbelt cutter and a glass breaker as well. So let's take this survival knife and we'll do a out-of-the-box sharpness test here. So right here I've got 2 heavy-duty rubber bands stretched over a aluminum can koozie that could simulate tendons in a game animal, something of that sort. So we're just going to use the weight of the knife and the blade to go ahead and see if we can't cut through those rubber bands. Okay, so it's not laughably sharp. I've had knives that fail that. It did cut it. Let's pop open the Gordon case and see what we've got. Got a couple lashing holes on the outside, maybe, fashion a paracord handle, or if you wanted to, hang this in a boat or something like that, you could utilize those. Low profile clips, you got to kind of get your fingernails under them. Looks like we've got eggshell on the inside and on the bottom. We have a emergency blanket, space blanket, Mylar blanket. The good old Air Force survival knife wire saw. I haven't seen one of these in a while, not since I was a kid. My dad had the old school Air Force survival knives out of the 70s and 80s I used to play with as a kid all the time, and they had wire knives in them similar to this, but a little bit different. Popping open the wire saw here. Seems like it's braided rather than an actual little saw blade like the old school ones. We've got a couple of big fishing swivels holding on some pocket keyring loops for our fingers. We'll test this out a little later. Fishing kit. So it looks like we get a red sparkled little grub spinner bait here. We'll leave that in the bag so he doesn't dry out. And we have a little bit of fishing line. I'm guessing maybe 50 or 100 feet here. There might be more than that. And a hook taped to it. It's like maybe a number 6 Snell, something like that. Here we have the survival bracelet. So it looks like we've got 550 cord here that we could take apart if we needed. We've got a whistle. That works better than the spork whistle. Compass on top. Let's see, which I can tell you is pretty dang close, honestly. Undo the buckle here. We have what they say is a scraper slash fire starter. And I think this is a ferro rod right there. Let's see if we can't scrape this coating off the ferro rod. Well, we got a little. All right, so the ferro rod kind of works. We'll test that later. So this is a extendable pocket bellows, like old school car antenna. There it is, fully extended. It's probably 24 inches long or so. It says to exhale through the large end of the pocket bellows with the small end facing the fire. It says do not inhale through the pocket bellows. A little further here, looks like we've got a little ferro rod. Pull this guy out. Very similar striker to the Light My Fire brand. It's got the hexagonal notch with the bottle opener, the concave scraper, the flat edge with the measuring device on here, and then a very similar ferro rod, believe it or not, to the Gerber brand that I've had in the past. They usually use these in the bottom. They'll nest in the sheath of a knife. Very similar T-handle to the Gerber brand ferro rod. Most of these Chinese ferro rods do work. They're not the hottest, but I'm not going to scrape it here because I don't really want to light my Glock mat or burn a hole in it any worse than what it's already in a state of disrepair, so we'll test it later. Here we have a, I should have known. Here we have a water bottle buckle clip. So it states to undo the clip, take the cap off the water bottle, put this around the neck of the water bottle, clip it back together. Then you can put this on your belt or a backpack and you can carry a water bottle. Or you could just put it in your pocket. Here we have the tactical pen, another glass breaker, another pinpoint pummel there. And I'm guessing we twist, yes, and a little twist here reveals the ballpoint side. So, and finally we have what they are calling the saber card. Ah, yes, I've been down this road before. Voodoo Tactical made these back in the day. I used to carry one in my wallet for a long time. I've had them in backpacks, stuff like that. So you've got like a bottle opener, a hex tool, some sort of the directional compass mapping thing, small hex tool, a little wrench like for getting on flat surfaces or wing nuts, something along those lines, a small edged little tool here, and then this I think usually works as a can opener right there, as well as the flat blade screwdriver and a saw blade too. Let's just put this back in here before I hurt myself with it. There we go. So it took an engineering degree in about 5 minutes to get everything packed back into this little case that they give you. It does have a small rubber seal around the edge, but however, when you put everything in there, unless I really spent some time and really tried to get everything settled in, it does push up the case just a little bit, so I doubt that water-resistant claim is going to hold much fame. Let's get out in the woods and actually see what this thing can do. One of the first things I want to test out of this kit is this wire saw, just because I know how these can typically go from, ones I've messed with in the past. But I want to see what this one's really capable of. So we've got a little maple sapling here that looks like it got blown down in one of the last windstorms we had. So let's say we need to, we need to make a little bit smaller section out of this. Maybe we're going to create a shelter or something along those lines. So I'll see if we can't whittle away at it with the wire. One thing even in my youth I learned is that you do not want to touch that right now because it will burn the absolute crap out of it. Struggled there. I almost brought gloves out here because I knew kind of how these operated, but you can see on my hands, you know, what that saw did to me just cutting that little chunk. So really the caloric burn that you're going to use trying to operate this thing, you know, might just outweigh using your pocket knife or something and, you know, whittling down to what you need to do. So right here we've got about a 5-inch chunk of deadfall. Maybe we're going to use this straight piece for a you know, a center support on a shelter or something like that. Maybe all we have is that pocket knife, and you're going to be here all day whittling away at this thing or batoning away at this thing to cut it with a pocket knife. You know, maybe you want a more square cut. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen here, but let's try out the wire saw.
Check out my fingers already. This thing's gonna tear you up.
All right, so I think we're all starting to see the trend on the saw here. Let's stop shooting for the moon with this guy. Maybe we just need to we need to thatch a roof together. So,
you know, maybe we're gonna cut down some small saplings. Let's see if it can handle this.
all right, so like I said before, the amount of caloric burn that you're gonna spend cutting down a sapling like this to try to make a shelter or whatever you need to do, a fishing pole, a spear, what have you, with this piece of garbage is not worth it. So the wire saw is definitely a fail. All right, so now let's say we've been walking around out in the woods here. We kind of lost track of where we came from, so we need to get back. Well, it just so happens you've got your fancy survival bracelet here. So we are going to go ahead and see if this will tell us a fairly accurate. Okay, so this is putting our bearing about straight northeast. So this is putting us on a bearing of, yeah, right about northeast. So the compass on the little bracelet does actually work for now. See if we can't find something else to test the survival kit on. It's getting kind of later in the day maybe in our situation, so maybe we want to look at starting to begin to think about getting a fire going. So let's see if we can't find some tinder and see what we can do about that. Maybe in our scenario, it's getting a little later in the day. We've got a small stream that's running behind us here. We need to start thinking about shelter, fire, but we also need to start thinking about trying to get some food, you know, depending on what your situation is. So let's just roll with our little kit here. Has this fishing kit in it, right? So I happened across this mostly dead sapling here. There's no leaves on it. It's pretty much dead. But it's still alive enough that it has the elasticity that we want for a fishing pole. You know, we don't want it to snap. So we already figured out that the wire saw is pretty much a joke. So let's see if the tactical knife has the power to cut this sapling up. So in the matter of a couple minutes, we've got what will become our little makeshift fishing pole. It's pretty sturdy, like I said. We want that rigidity. It's pretty sturdy. We're going to use it as a small fishing pole, basically just a cane pole. But the knife was definitely easier than using the saw. So. So we did end up successfully crafting, even though you could have done it with a sharp rock. We did do made a little fishing pole here. So, I mean, with nothing in your pocket and you had that, you can do something. So we started a little fishing pole. We can attach our string to that and try our hand at doing some cane jigging for some fish in a creek or whatever you come across. Let's see how we can process some firewood with this. So even on a chunk as small as this, it might be, you know, 2.5 inch diameter. We just don't have the length of blade here to really split this. So, you know, if you wanted to make a board, a base board for a fire drill or a fire bow or something like that, you wanted to split this in half, you may even run into trouble with that. It just doesn't have quite the blade length.
So I've got it started pretty good. I'm going to avoid hammering the mechanism and try to hit just the blade.
So it did end up working. We split our wood in half here, you know, just took a little bit of finesse, but we got 2 halves, you know, if you wanted to make a base for a fire drill, something along those lines, or you could further process this into kindling. Let's try something a little harder. So here I've got a chunk of firewood from my backyard. It's a red oak. Well, all right, so we have effectively, while batoning, we did just overcome the, we did just overcome the mechanism of the blade there.
Super demanding batoning task.
I really didn't think that that was going to be so demanding that it couldn't do it. I've had pretty cheap knives withstand some pretty decent batoning, but evidently that's not in this guy's pay grade. You can hear the wobble in the blade and the mechanism there. We just you know, maybe I could have hit it in the wrong spot too many times, and it just overpowered that mechanism. You can see the wobble we've got in the blade now. It's still functional, so I'm just going to feather this a little bit and try to get a little tinder bundle going here. So after using the knife to process the rest of our tinder, I have pretty much fragged it. It still is functional. I mean, it still is a knife, so it didn't break or have a catastrophic blade failure. The action just seems to be a bit lacking. So see if we can't make something happen. First off, we can try the bracelet ferro rod.
Got some small pieces of pine here. Let's see if we can get in there.
Let's try the bigger of the ferro rods that it came with here. Scrape some of that coating off. Let's see if it works. Almost killed it there. Almost gave it too much fuel at once. So, hands down, put more care into actually getting the fire going here rather than holding the camera. That's definitely something that would happen. But yeah, as you can see, we've definitely got coals now. We're burning up that pine. Yeah, so definitely a usable ferro rod. Not the most impressive ferro rod I've ever used, but it did get a fire going. So let's wrap up the review on the Gordon Emergency Survival Kit from Harbor Freight. Is it worth the money? Yes and no. So let's go over what we did. Flashlight works. It's probably a decent flashlight for the kit. That's fine. The pen does write on paper. It's a heavy duty pen. It's got a little glass breaker. Cool. The pen, I guess does its job. I don't know that you'd necessarily need that for the survival situation, okay? We did indeed start a fire with this ferro rod, so it works. Fishing kit. The knife was sharp enough that we did do a little bit of more exact bushcraft on, we made a line around the stick and a shelf to where our fishing line would catch. We did make a little cane pole with the kit for use with this fishing kit. I didn't go out and fish or catch a fish on it. You've got a hook. I'm sure if you looked around, you could find a small insect. I'm sure the fishing kit would work in a pinch. This thing, yeah. Spork. The bottle opener works. I guess it's hard to screw one of those up. The whistle doesn't work. It's better than using your hands to eat an MRE, I suppose, or freeze-dried meal. So I guess we'll give the spork a pass. The rope holes for the spear idea, I don't know. That doesn't hold much water with me. The survival bracelet. That is the most effective whistle, I guess. So you do have a signaling device. You do have a, when in doubt, ferro rod. It probably would work if you put enough time into it. And the compass is fairly accurate. Plus, you've probably got a good amount, maybe 20 feet or more of paracord here. So that's useful. I built dozens and dozens of fires primitively with a ferro rod. And I've never had to use a fire bellow straw. Could you use it for other things? Sure, but it is fairly heavy, and I think it does add a good amount of weight to the kit. That would be kind of a pass for me, I think. The card here, the can opener, does work. And it does have a bottle opener as well and some tools. The knife blade, I guess you could use as a scraper or maybe a small bushcraft tool to make cuts or notches into things. It can be useful, although again, it is fairly heavy. A much more effective option if you want a can opener. Any Army, Navy store, any military surplus store, gun shows, and buy a P38 can opener. They weigh 1/10 of this, and they're a little more effective in my opinion. My old friend, the wire saw. This failed to cut through a 1-inch diameter green sapling. It's just very difficult to use, and the calorie burn and the time and effort put forth into using this just doesn't equate to using this knife for most jobs. So I'm gonna pass on the saw. Space blanket, I didn't open up. I'm imagining it looks like it's standard space blanket size. It probably is good for making a reflective layer in a shelter or helping someone with shock, you know, anything along those lines. It's great. And the knife, I pretty well hammered it, but it is still together. I did not break it, and I tell you what, the blade looks to be in pretty good condition. There is no nicks or chips or bends in the blade. It is still halfway decently sharp. It was sharp enough that I did all of the testing with it. I never sharpened it before I did it. I never sharpened it during it. It is as it came. So the knife did perform decently well overall. Would I say it's a great knife? Absolutely not. But if you didn't have a knife, this would be way better than using a sharp rock or something in a survival situation, or if you had this kit in the trunk of your car and you got into some trouble, this is definitely better than not having a knife. Overall, do I recommend the 12-piece emergency survival kit from Harbor Freight? I could. The thing is, it's better than nothing. However, most people that have nothing know nothing or know very little. If you don't understand how to use a ferro rod, if you don't know how to do some simple bushcrafting things with a pocket knife, this kit's not going to help you a whole lot. It does have one half working signaling device. It does have an emergency blanket. Those things could help just the regular folk. The other stuff is kind of, iffy. For $15, I do think it's pretty cool. I guess it comes in a case. It comes in a complete little kit. If you could get it for $10 to $15, yeah, throw it in the back of your car. Throw it in the back of your motorcycle. Anything it's better than having nothing. Would I go out on an expedition, on a hunting trip, or a shit hit the fan scenario and just not worry about bringing any of my other gear and just go ahead and throw this in? Absolutely not. It's not going to cut the mustard. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on the Harbor Freight survival kit. I had fun making it. I had fun testing it. These are the things that I like to do. And I hope you stuck around to the end, and I hope you learned something. If you got any questions, comments, put them down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. As always, thank you guys for watching. We super appreciate y'all, and we'll see you in the next one.